Naruto Uzumaki, the child of prophecy. We have to send him back. How will he return? He won't. 20 years ago, Minato was a kid, a member of the Kamikaze clan, and their secret art of time release had passed down into Minato's genes. Even though he didn't know it, he had the strongest form of time release seen in generations. Minato would grow into one of the strongest shinobi of his era, gaining the epithet of the Yellow Flash of the Leaf, and earning the title of the 4th Hokage. Along his journey to the top of the ninja world, he found more about himself and discovered his reality warping abilities. He led his village through peaceful times, even though the air surrounding the world at this time was cold, and the allied and enemy nations alike were at the village and the land's throat. The Leaf, however, would still prosper during these strange times of unstable peace, until things started happening across the village, which all culminated in the Nine Tails attack on the Leaf. Minato's wife was a Jinchuriki of the beast, the human tasked to hold the Kyuubi's massive chakra pool inside of them, but she had fallen pregnant with Minato's son, and as such the seal weakened day after day until she gave birth, when the seal hit its lowest point and chaos had the most potential to spread. A masked man would attack the village, and that potential for chaos would be realized. Minato would try his best to save his family and protect his village, but something had to give, and that something was his wife, Kushina. Minato would struggle, but he managed to keep everything under control and return to his wife, only to see her missing. Luckily, he used his flying Raijin technique to zip over to her location, where he saw the Kyuubi attacking his newly born child. He stepped in between the Kyuubi and his child, Naruto, and before he knew it, his life was leaving his body. His journey was ending, and he didn't have enough chakra or finesse to send himself back, but he could do something else. Convening with his wife, he used a technique that would hopefully save the village and everyone in it from the Nine Tails rampage. He sent Naruto back in time. Yo, what's good everybody, it's me, Big Taco, back for another video. Today I'm bringing you guys What If Naruto Had Time Release. This is a brand new series I'm bringing to my channel courtesy of one of my fans actually. He's actually another YouTuber and he asked me if I wanted to do a collab. Guys, I'm always down to collab with any of you, if I think your idea is good enough, that is. So he brought this idea to me, explained it a little bit, sent me a rough draft of the script. I ran with it. I think you're gonna see a lot more of this series on the channel, maybe 3 or 5 parts max. But yeah, I'm really into it and I think it's amazing. The baby Naruto would end up in the care of an old woman who had crimson hair and an amazing smile, Mito Uzumaki. Naruto was sent back in time a few years before the Great Shinobi World War. One day, Mito sensed a weak chakra in the forest one day while looking for berries. She followed the trail of his chakra until she stumbled upon a child, and the child was laying and crying in hysteria, with something written across his torso in blood. That thing written across his torso would be the name Naruto. Naruto would grow up in the care of this nice old lady as her husband had died, and she had found raising the future citizens and shinobi of the village to be her greatest comfort, and enjoyed doing all of this very much. The young Naruto would now grow up oblivious to everything that happened beforehand. He thought of himself as a regular orphan, but he wasn't. He was going to the academy every day and training with his special tutors after school. You see, as Mito Uzumaki was raising the future of the great shinobi of the Leaf, she thought it appropriate to give them a head start on their training, often teaching a group of children advanced techniques that wouldn't be taught to them at the academy, such as much more advanced forms of chakra control and running up trees and controlling kunai's direction. Naruto was the worst student of the bunch and would often get bullied and picked on by the other kids for his lack of ability. But what he was lacking in skill, he made up, however, in raw determination, constantly pushing himself to try his best, even when he had failed miserably. Because of this, he would often get picked on by his crush. She was a girl a few years older than him, and she had just become a chunin. He admired her ever since they were children. I mean, they practically grew up together. She had blonde hair and was as strong as an ox. Her name was Tsunade. Naruto couldn't stop thinking of her, Tsunade was the granddaughter of Miko, and as such would help out with the orphanage as much as possible and would train alongside the other kids. However, when she became a genin, Naruto wouldn't see her around as much, and she was constantly out on missions with her new team. But hopefully, all of that was changed as soon as Naruto was going to become a genin, a proper ninja, and maybe even get the chance to go out on some joint missions with Tsunade and her team. He would gleefully talk to the academy that day hoping to pass the exam, but he failed. If it was a test of strength or endurance, he would have passed, but it wasn't. It was a clone test. The dreaded clone test had to appear on Naruto's big day. As a consequence of all of this, he failed his test and was knocked off of his feet. Naruto would head home and run into his bed. He laid there, curtains drawn, in complete darkness, crying his eyes out. Nothing ever came easy to him. He always had to try so hard in everything he did. How come he wasn't like the other kids in the orphanage? At least he could have been like them. Even though they didn't have parents, they were still skilled in a certain area, but Naruto, he was worthless. He had nothing. He had no parents, and he had no skill. That's when a strange glowing figure would approach Naruto in his mind, and it held out its hand, and Naruto would grab it and be transported into a dream world. Similarly to when Minato and Kushina infused their last bit of chakra and Naruto took the seal to when he turned 16, they placed a seal on Naruto to activate whenever he was seriously distressed. Now, ironically, today was actually the first day that Naruto ever felt this down, so the seal would awaken. A figure would arise in Naruto's dream. It was his father, and he came to explain everything. Minato would firstly look around in Naruto's landscape and he realized something. The timeline, it had changed. It wasn't the same as he intended. When he sent Naruto back, that must have set off some differences in the timeline or maybe triggered something. Because Naruto was in a time completely unique to all of ninja history. Minato then explained this to Naruto, and Naruto isn't really caring about this. He's stunned to see his father for the first time and begins breaking down in tears, hugging him. But Minato knows that, of course, while this is his child's first time seeing him, they have bigger things to conquer. Using that time release jutsu to send him back to save the village in the future caused major problems to the Naruto-verse timeline, and he and Naruto would have to fix it together. Now, Minato, of course, wouldn't be able to come through to Naruto and really be there for him, as he was only a figment in Naruto's imagination. But Minato told Naruto that every night he should come into this mindscape or this dream world to train with him. Minato had set up some way, somehow using his time release, a version of that seal that he could train with Naruto with. So that's what Naruto would do. He, of course, left this dream world extremely confused, not knowing if it was real, and the next day he woke up and went through everything he would go through every day. He trained with all the other orphans, he had his special training after he came back from the academy, and all that stuff. Naruto would fall asleep, and when he did, he slipped back into that dream world for the second time. This time, he knew that last night's dream world was real, and everything he experienced was real. His father was real, and this was amazing to Naruto. He burst out in excitement, but Minato knew they had bigger fish to fry. He forced Naruto to focus, and he sat him down to explain the great magic around time release. He explained to Naruto that time release at best wasn't really time release. It was more of a reality bending power. It should really be called reality release. Of course, Minato would first have to explain to him what time release was, as Naruto's head was spinning at this point. He would explain to him that his clan would have a power to manipulate time and send objects back and forth through time. However, Minato himself was born special. For some reason, he could send himself and other people through and forth time, something that shouldn't be possible by all the laws of physics and by all the laws of the Naruto universe. You should never be able to send someone else besides yourself into the future. But Minato, for some strange reason, was born with this reality warping ability. Minato would call this at first reality release because he didn't really see it as time release. He saw it as an evolution on top of the Namikaze clan's time release. However, getting reality release that was similar to Minato's was a 1 in a million chance, and not a lot of people had learned the ability before Minato, and after him, so he would have to create his own jutsu by himself. And he didn't even know if Naruto had time release at this point. He and Naruto would talk, and he would tell Naruto that in order for him to come back, in order for Minato to explain the rest, Naruto would have to learn time release. Anyway guys, that's the part 0. If you think you guys want to see the rest of the series, and if you think it's a good idea and I should pursue it, let me know. Get down in the comments below and theorize. What do you really think time release is? Can you explain it? I already have the explanation here, courtesy of Amaterasu's Anbu, but if you guys can, what do you think is going on? Reality release? That seems kind of weird. And is the timeline completely gone to shit? Can it be saved? Can Naruto restore everything? Or will some things inevitably be left torn apart? Anyway guys, like I said at the end of all my videos, like and subscribe, all that fun jazz. I'll see you soon. This video is pretty late. This is editing Gucci, by the way. This video is pretty late, and I'm going to be dropping another video today on top of it to make up for this video's lateness. Sorry about that as always. Peace. Show. Oh, sorry, I forgot to close my window. Neighbors don't hear me. Show, what's good everybody? It's me, Big Taco, back. Today I'm bringing you guys this brand new, lovely, beautiful series that I have put so much value and effort into. What if Naruto had time release, episode 1. I mean, you guys don't even know, writing the script was like, I was just getting brainwaves of massive inspiration while I was writing this script. Of course, the creator and the person who gave me the outline for the story, Amaterasu's Anbu, his link will be in the description. Go show that man some love. Without him, the series wouldn't even be possible. So, yeah, go show him some love. Thank you so much for giving me the story outline, and I hope that what I did with your story is, you know, something that you would like. Anyway, before we start the video, I have a few quick retcons that have just, you know, have to be done. I told you guys there's going to be a lot of changes into the series once it becomes an official series on the channel, and it has, thanks to you guys' amazing support. Quick retcons. See, now Naruto was sent somewhere between the First Shinobi World War near the start of the Second Shinobi World War. I think that needed a little bit more clarification because I just said he was dropped somewhere between the Shinobi World Wars because I wasn't really sure. And now Naruto is 10 instead of the original 12 he was in the part 0. Mito Uzumaki is still the Nine Tails Jinchuriki in this, but Naruto does not have the Nine Tails. I'm sorry guys who were wishing Naruto had the Nine Tails. I don't think it's really appropriate for the story right now if he has the Nine Tails. But that may change in the future with Naruto's time traveling abilities. Who knows, he might just pick up the Nine Tails on one of his journeys. Anyway, Kushina was recently born in Uzushiro Gakude. So yeah, Kushina and Naruto technically exist on the same plane that entire time Naruto was growing up. As soon as he hit 10, that's when Kushina was born. Anyway, we skip 2 weeks into the future, and Naruto begins his training with his father, Minato. No. Sorry. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. And, yeah, thank you, Amaterasu's Anbu. We skip 2 weeks into the future, and Naruto would be training with his father, Minato. They would train in the dream world after Naruto would return from the academy, and any special training or tutoring he would have during the day. And during the evenings he would train with his father. Minato would have a lot of struggles and issues training Naruto. For one, he noticed right away that his son had taken after his mother, with the fact that he wasn't really all that focused. I mean, he had a lot of heart and gave everything 100%, but he wasn't keying in on his training enough. I mean, trying is good, but Naruto would have to focus solely on the task at hand if he wanted to unlock a time release. If they weren't training, Minato would sit down Naruto and find out as much as possible about the world that Naruto had been living in. Picking out key bits of information, he hoped to somehow pinpoint Naruto's location in time. Naruto would ask Minato, Why? Why do you need all this information? I mean, you don't need to travel back in time all that time, so why do you need all this information? No, Naruto, that's not how time release works. Minato lets out a sigh as he explains the basics behind time release to Naruto again. You see, when you travel back in time, you're always traveling back in a straight line. Think about that line, alright? That's what you call a timeline, okay?
Okay.
Listen, the timeline is made of everything that happened in the past, or what is happening right now in the present. When you use time release to travel back, it's like you're sliding backwards in a wormhole, ending up exactly where you were in the present in the past.
What's a wormhole?
Well, a worm... that doesn't matter. Pay attention. Now that you're in the past, anything you do can change the timeline and affect the present that you just came from, which now is the future. You see, a simple mistake or misstep can send ripples through the timeline affecting events in the future. Remember, the future in the past, for you, may be the present.
What?
These ripples are called the butterfly effect. You see, the timeline is very fragile, Naruto, so anything you do in the past can affect the future. Or your present.
So what happens when you travel to the future and do something?
You can't.
Huh?
You can't travel to the future.
What?
Alright, think of it this way. You can travel to the past because it already happened, but you can't travel to the future because it doesn't exist yet.
No, that's not really true.
Okay, the past is real. The present is real. But the future, right, is make-believe. It hasn't happened yet, so you can't travel to it.
Oh, I get it. But what does it have to do with Grandma Mito?
Okay, listen. Sometimes when you travel back and cause a ripple, the butterfly effect carries that ripple so far into the future
Or the present.
exactly that a new timeline is formed completely different from the one you just came from. This timeline branches off the original timeline wherever, or should I say, whenever this ripple came from. Depending on how far the timeline strays, it can create futures completely foreign to the ones you know, causing the timeline to stray further and further away from the original. This is why I said before that time release isn't really time release. In essence, it's reality release, because creating a new timeline is kind of like creating a new universe or dimension. It's similar but completely separate from the one you originally came from. When this happens, you can't travel back to the time you came from.
Why?
Because the timeline you are now in is completely in a different universe from the timeline you came from.
And all this is because of butterflies?
Yes, Naruto. You see, around this time in the timeline, Mito Uzumaki would start to fall ill due to her old age. And 9 to 12 years from now, Kushina, your mother, is brought over to the Leaf to become the next Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. But she seems perfectly healthy by your account. Well, maybe she just gets sick later. No, we can't deal with maybes, Naruto. If we mess this up in even the slightest manner, that can send ripples through the timeline, you hear me? Damn it. Time's running up. Remember, Naruto, butterfly, right? Butterfly. Butterfly, Naruto. Butterfly. Butterfly. Naruto yawns as he wakes up from his dream session with Minato. During the last 2 days, he wasn't able to get any sleep due to training. Even though he was dreaming, he wasn't really getting any rest, with Minato spawning all kinds of methods to put Naruto through the ringer. And Naruto didn't even feel like it was working. He would wake up some days and he would forget entire segments of his dreams, especially whenever Minato would start rambling on about time. I don't know, it's something to do with butterflies? Yeah, but like I said before, that conversation with Minato that had just happened about time release, Naruto had heard that before. It had all happened multiple times throughout the 2 weeks he's been training with Minato. In fact, it happened rather frequently, but Naruto would simply wake up and forget the dream. This is why Minato felt it necessary to drill the word butterfly into Naruto's head. Maybe he would remember some of the information by associating it with the word butterfly. And again, maybe not. Naruto goes through his day like normal, heading to the academy to learn, and then after that, he had a little free time to do whatever he wanted before his group had training with his foster siblings, so he wandered around the village looking for something to do. That's when he saw Tsunade walking through the village. Tsunade, he yelled, running towards her. Oh, hi Naruto, she said with a smile, then proceeded to pat Naruto on his head. Naruto was now smiling ear to ear. He hadn't seen Tsunade in what felt like years. Tsunade, I haven't seen you around the house as much. How come, he says. Well, you know, ninja stuff, she then rebuttals with. Being sent on missions and living on your own drains a lot of your energy. Yeah, I know how that feels. I sleep every night as soon as dawn hits, Naruto then says. Tsunade lets out a little chuckle and Naruto blushes, finally getting his crush to laugh. Anyway, he says, "You want to go to the fields, hang out?" He then awkwardly stumbles saying, "I mean, if you're free or anything. I know you're like a ninja and all, I didn't really, but I would really like it if you, could come." "Yeah, let's go," she says. Naruto, she says, really? He's honestly super surprised. "Yeah, come on, I got about an hour left before my next mission. Let's go." So Naruto and Tsunade then head to the field a few miles away from the south gate of the village. Naruto would regularly struggle keeping up with Tsunade, but oddly enough, some of his dream trading kicks in that very moment and he chases after Tsunade in the trees on their way to the fields. When they get there, Naruto's eyes then light up as he sees bright colors of the fields pop with wonderful scenery of flowers and the land of fire's beautifully sharp geography. From its towering cliff sides, pointy mountains, and oddly shaped hills, the fields were absolutely beautiful that day. Naruto and Tsunade sat down in the fields, facing out towards the cliffside, and talked for what seemed like days. They talked about their dreams, with Tsunade saying that she wants to become a kunoichi that is always there for her teammates, explaining that she had been studying more advanced forms of medical ninjutsu. Not that kid stuff that grandma teaches you, but techniques that can make a difference in the battlefield. "I've been thinking," she says, "what if there was a medical ninjutsu user on each squad? They could save so many ninja." "Yeah," Tsunade says Naruto. That's genius. "So what about you, Naruto?" she then whispers while looking at Naruto. "What do you dream about?" Naruto's mind is immediately thinking about his father and the training that he goes through almost every day. "Well," he then awkwardly says while rubbing his head, "if I told you, you would think that I'm weird." No, I wouldn't," Tsunade then comes back with. "Alright," Naruto says. He then sighs and says, "Promise you won't tell anybody." Tsunade then looks in Naruto's eyes deeply and says, "I promise." "Alright then, well, I actually, get these dreams at night." "Yeah? And, well..." Naruto tries to explain his situation to Tsunade, but in that moment, he was ready to tell her everything. He was just searching for the words to explain it to her. That's when he saw, out of the corner of his eye, "Tsunade, look out!" to see 7 bandits behind her. She tried to fight them, and she and Naruto would put up an effort, but even with Naruto's dream training and Tsunade's new training with Hiruzen, it wouldn't be enough. They outnumbered them greatly, and the bandits laughed as they kicked Naruto and grabbed Tsunade perversely, touching her and talking about how they were going to use and sell her. They beat Tsunade until she couldn't put up a fight, and then, when asked to do with Naruto, the leader of this disgusting group would laugh and say, "Leave the grunt here, let him grovel a little bit more." He then walks up to Naruto, stomping his boot on the boy's face, smashing his head deeper into the soil of the fields. Naruto then gets up and runs away, running as fast as he can in the direction of the village. "Boss," one of the bandits then says, "should we stop him?" "No," the bandit boss returns with, "even if he gets there to the village, most of the shinobi are out on missions. They would want to leave that village for one girl. They wouldn't want to do that." Naruto then ran back south towards the forest, jumping tree to tree, clawing as fast as he possibly could to get back to the village. He returned to the southern gate to see no ninja guarding the gates. They were probably sent out on missions. Naruto then runs through the village, heading back towards his foster home, passing through crowds of people, just hoping that Tsunade would be okay until he returns. He gets back there and he sees his foster brother Nabi, and Nabi runs towards him. Nabi is immediately aware the situation was super bad because Naruto was bleeding really badly. He had got the rest of his foster siblings gathered up and they were made aware, and they got first aid from his foster sister Mikubi. Naruto then explained everything that happened with the bandits and how they appeared at the field, kidnapped Tsunade, and beat the living crap out of him. "We have to help her," he pleads with his foster siblings. "Please, we have to." "No," Mikubi says, "we need to let the ninja deal with this." Mikubi was the head of the foster kids. If she said no, then it was no. "But Mikubu, they'll sell her to some weirdo and we'll never see her again," Naruto screams. "She's our sister, we have to save her." "Well, all the ninjas are out on missions," Nabi then yells at Mikubi. Kinoma, Naruto's younger foster sister, then says, I heard Mito talking with one of the Hokage's advisors before, and they were saying something about a war starting soon. And with the rallying of his siblings rallying behind him, Naruto overcomes Mikubi's influence, and the entire gang leaves for the south gate, running towards the fields. Leading his foster siblings towards battle with the bandits, Naruto would weave through the trees intently, knowing that he had to save Tsunade, giving every last inch of effort, running towards those fields, preparing for this battle. When they get there, they see Tsunade crying, who was in shackles. Naruto would encourage them to approach quietly and sneakily, hiding behind large bushes of the field, approaching Tsunade slowly, calmly, and in an orderly fashion, so as they can get the jump on the bandits. Tsunade, Naruto whispers when he's close enough to Tsunade to save her, "It's me." Tsunade then looks down, and that's when a bandit realizes what's going on and raises the alarm, yelling, "Boss!" A bunch of the bandits come out and are ready to battle these kids. Mikubi then pops out of the bushes yelling, "Charge!" and she yells as the foster kids raid the bandits, and they all get into a massive battle. While this battle's going on, Naruto sneaks behind Tsunade and to unlock the shackles she's being held in. Naruto unlocks these as the battle really starts to heat up and begin. The boss sees Naruto and heads towards him intently, but Naruto has some other plans. He's gonna weed out some of the bandits first just to make it easier for his foster siblings, and then he will take down the boss. The battle begins. Naruto goes from bandit to bandit. Each bandit he fights, he gets better and more efficient in using his training that he learned with his father. Tsunade is blown back by Naruto, but she doesn't have time to focus on him as she's fighting herself, getting caught up in the battles that have 2 to 3 bandits on her at one time. It seemed like there was only 7 bandits at the time of her kidnapping, but there were a bunch more. It was like opening the floodgates to these bandits. They kept on coming and coming, and these kids, they couldn't hold on for too long. The boss sees Naruto and he wants him. He's out for blood. That dumb kid came back with his little friends. He thinks it's over. It's not. The boss runs towards Naruto. As he isn't really trying to pay attention to the boss, Naruto gets swept off his feet, and the battle between him and the boss begins. Meanwhile, Mikubi is fighting multiple bandits, probably in the same situation as Tsunade, getting teamed up by 2 or 3 bandits at one time. Mikubi tries her best, but somehow a bandit gets the jumps on her, and she's stabbed. Stabbed really badly. Mikubi begins to bleed on the floor as the rest of us foster siblings use this as fuel to make them even angrier. Blood starts really popping up on these beautiful fields, and it seems like the stage of this battle would last in everybody's minds. Tsunade, getting distracted by Mikubi's death and the death of bandits around her, somehow gets stabbed. Naruto would scream no as he's being pulled away by the boss. He would throw his hands towards her, and that's when time would rewind. Naruto rewinds the time around him. He used time release for the first time. He rewinds to before Mikubi dies and stops her from dying, which leads to a bunch of different things happening. Firstly, of course, the foster siblings wouldn't be as angry using Mikubi as fuel to fire their anger towards the bandits, so there would be a lot less blood around the fields. And Mikubi, somehow evading all the attackers, gets between that blade and Tsunade and saves her life. Naruto fights the boss, and this time he's very pissed. You see, he does have the fuel of Mikubi dying. He also has the fuels of Tsunade's dying. He has the fuel of a lot of his foster siblings dying. He remembers everything, even though everybody else around him doesn't. He goes crazy on the boss, tapping into his training and using his full potential, reading the boss's attacks and understanding his flow of chakra better than he ever did before. He spawns a clone and takes down the bandit boss. Rage still infuming his heart, he stands over the boss feeling like he wanted more. This man was evil. He kidnapped Tsunade, his followers, they killed Mikubi, and they killed another multitude of his foster siblings. This man, he had to die. He then picks up a large rock from the bushes and holds it over the bandit's head. His siblings all stare at Naruto as Tsunade yells for him to stop. Naruto, however, was zoned out and was focused on killing this man. That's when he sees out of the corner of his eye a butterfly. He then enters a haze and closes his eyes, where he hears Minato. Naruto drops the rock, but not on the bandit's head, and the battle ends. Naruto now hears Minato talking to him, even though he isn't dreaming. Minato, Naruto, Minato says. Naruto, what have you done? We have to go back now. As the group run back towards the village, Naruto breaks off to listen to what Minato says. Naruto, listen, there's gonna be ripples after this, and I don't know if you can travel back after these ripples have fully taken place. We have to go back now before they're fully formed. Remember what I told you. Once these ripples are formed, you can create a separate timeline. This timeline is separating. I don't know if this happens in the original timeline. I don't know what's going on. We have to go to a time where we're more secure, Naruto. What do you suggest? Naruto then says. Okay. We have to figure out a way to get to the first. Focus on the first. I'll teach you what to do. Minato explains the hand signs to Naruto so he can travel back deeper into time, and Naruto does them. Naruto's eyes light up as he stares at the colors he sees while being thrown through an ever-moving tunnel at breakneck speed. So this is a wormhole, he says, while he looks around the magnificent colors around him. So bright, so various, I can't even explain it. Naruto then appears in a different time. He's still in a forest. He then runs to the forest back towards the south gate. However, when he gets there, the gate is gone. Naruto looks stunned, so he asks Minato, what's going on? And Minato is shocked as well. He doesn't know. That's when he hears a noise. What are you doing? Naruto then looks over to see a red-haired girl staring at him confused. Where's the south gate? Naruto says in a questioning manner. Huh? She replies with. Naruto, Minato calls out to him. Naruto, but he wasn't listening to him. There is no south gate. If you want to enter the village, you're gonna have to go to the western gate, she then says. Anyway, hi, my name is Kushina Uzumaki. Nice to meet you. The girl then sticks out her hand, and immediately Naruto now understands what's going on. We're in the future, Naruto. We're in the future.
Dad, stop freaking out, alright?
Kid, you don't understand this. This shouldn't be possible. The timeline, Naruto.
Is everything okay?
Naruto was in a deep zone while talking to his father. He didn't understand it, but somehow the rules were changing. Before, he couldn't even contact his father without being unconscious, but now he was talking to his father, fully interacting with him in the dream world without even being asleep. But he couldn't focus on that. The red-haired girl had just asked Naruto a question. He didn't hear anything she was saying, but as to not look foolish, he responds, stumbling, saying, yes, in a questioning manner. The girl looks at Naruto with questioning. Alright, she then says, suddenly changing her suspicious attitude to a perky one. Let's go, I'll take you to the gate. Hopefully they let you in. I've gotta go see the old hag, so I'll get you in there, but I've gotta go, alright? Old hag, Naruto thinks, but he doesn't have time to focus or to dwell on that. What the girl was saying wasn't important at the moment. He just shakes his head in agreement as the girl walks him over to the entrance to Konoha. While walking, Naruto drags behind the girl so he can get some words in with his father. Dad, Naruto says, under his breath as to not alert the girl.
Yes, Naruto? Dad, what's going on? Why can I hear you?
It has something to do with you finally unlocking your abilities, Naruto. You're more in tune with your chakra output and control. The dream world is a cloak of my chakra that I cast on your brain so I can create environments using your imagination.
So all this is really just a jutsu?
Yeah, basically. But the more I use it, the more your brain gets used to it. Like when you keep eating something over and over again and your brain expects it so you get hungry. Like when I eat ramen. Yeah, I think it's just a theory. This is my first time really casting the jutsu, so I don't know the side effects, but I guess this is one of them.
Dad?
How am I in the future then? That, Naruto? I don't know.
Well, do you at least know where I am?
Well, we're here, the girl says, spinning around to face Naruto with a smile. Naruto, who had his face tucked into his jacket, whispered quietly, scrambling to get his head out of the clouds, literally to look at the gates of the village open. What he saw next, he could have never dreamed of.
Welcome to Konoha! I hope you're not a spy or anything.
Naruto's eyes widened as he stared blankly into the bustling town of Konoha. The place had gone from a simple village to a full-on mini-city with a society all to itself.
Dad, where are we?
No, Naruto. When are we?
really can't produce it.
Show, what's good everybody, it's me, Beach Deku, back with you. And today, I'm here to bring you guys What If Naruto Had Time Release, Episode 2. After the amazing support that we got on Episode 1, I had to give you guys this in under a week, or maybe it's a week. I don't know when I'm gonna be dropping this. Right now, I'm currently working on like multiple projects. I'm working on some stuff for Instagram called What If Reels. Go down there in the description and just go follow my Instagram because I'm gonna be dropping what ifs on Instagram. They're gonna be quick little 1 minute 30-second videos. They're gonna be highly edited, all that stuff. What ifs, like little ideas. The first one I'm doing is what if Naruto had metal release. I'm gonna do a deku one soon. Don't worry about that. I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff right now basically, so I don't know when this is gonna drop. What if week is officially cancelled. I'm sorry, but I don't know why I couldn't pull it off. For some reason, even though I had the videos prepared and I had my schedule worked out, something was just off with it. I had to take a break during Halloween so I could hang out with my friends, and after that I just don't know what stopped me from continually uploading. But I'm sorry for failing you guys on that. I'll make sure to bring you some nice content and some amazing content soon. I really have to advise you guys. In the last video, I saw a lot of people in the comments being confused. A lot of you guys came over from Ryan Junkies shout out that he gave me, and you guys didn't originally watch the part 0. I appreciate the love, but if you really want to get a good grasp on this story, you have to go back and watch the other parts. If you do, you will understand everything that's going on now and everything that leads to this exact moment. Watching those parts are pivotal to the story. This is not like any other what if. This is a continual journey, and Naruto will be going through a lot of different places and times, so keeping up to date will be incredibly important because I'm going to be leaving hints into what happens in the future. For example, something that happened in last episode leads into something that happens in this episode. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but all I'm going to say is that Naruto really did something kind of bad. Anyway, I don't want to hold you guys up for too long. I just want to say thank you for the amazing support of this series, and you guys have really pushed me into taking Ambu's idea, making it my own, and giving it that big Gucci taco feel. You know what I mean? So, thank you. I'll see you in the next, I don't know, after I'm done. Maybe I'll do an outro because I kind of want to talk to you guys about the what if real stuff. But I'll see you in the future. Naruto then turns to the girl who's now talking to the guards at the village. She somehow convinces them that Naruto was an Uzumaki cousin of hers. The guards questioned this as the boy had blonde hair and blue eyes, but allowed him in the village as a request of the girl. They were kind of scared of her as legend would spread about the redhead hot habanero. Naruto walks past the guard and enters the village, hearing the sounds of chatter, smell of street food, and the feel of the thick air blowing through the village. Anyway, my name's Kushina, the girl says, turning around. You should really go talk to the old hag if you want to know more about the village. She's been here longer than anyone. I'm gonna go talk to her first, but explore a little bit. After I'm done, you should come. Bye. See you later. Wait, Naruto yells. You don't know my name. The girl then turns around, tilting her head, smiling at him. Oh yeah. What's your name then? My name's Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Wow, you really are an Uzumaki. Anyway, see you around, Blondie. She then turns away, running into the crowd before Naruto could ask any more questions. Naruto now starts to get stared at by the other villagers. Naruto of course didn't know it, but at the time, the Leaf was in fear of foreigners. They were really skeptical of him, especially since recently the Shinobi World Wars caused the death of the second Hokage and other important figures in Konoha. Naruto being seen as a foreigner was the worst thing for him, because they see him as a foreigner who just waltzed in with an Uzumaki girl, the one who would become the next Jinchuriki. Dad? Dad? Naruto, get to Mito Uzumaki now. She's still alive. But what's going on? Why is everybody looking at me? I'll tell you more about that later. For now, go and see her. Naruto runs through the crowd towards his house, full speed. While he is running through the village, however, someone spots him. A member of the newly founded Anbu. Naruto arrives at his home, but
it wasn't the same as before. No sounds of children, no noise of kids training their jutsu. It was completely isolated. The orphanage was no more. Naruto enters his home, slowly walking towards his room, where he and his foster siblings would live. It hadn't hit him before now, but it did. Naruto had missed out on his entire childhood. He falls to his knees crying on his bed. He would sleep on it every day. He would wake up next to his foster siblings, but they were all gone now. Whether they were dead or whether they grown up and decided to do something else. Naruto would hear the sounds of Kushina walking out of Nito Uzumaki's room. That's when he would walk back towards Kushina, giving her a wave saying, "Hi, I came like you told me to." Kushina was extremely skeptical and really weirded out by Naruto. First of all, how did he even know how to get here if he's never really been to the village before? She lets that slide, however, and allows him to go in to talk to Mito. Naruto walks in, and immediately, Mito notices him. You see, Mito wasn't that kind of woman who would ever forget one of her kids. She saw Naruto as the one who died during the battle that they did to save Tsunade. She immediately starts crying, and Naruto runs towards her, embracing her. She noticed it right away. She was no fool. Naruto, if he really had survived, would be around the age of her other foster siblings. He would be a full-grown adult by now, not still trapped in the body of a 10-year-old. This is all very confusing to her. Naruto looks at her saying, "What did I do? Why is everything like this?" Mito sighs, embracing Naruto. As he cries in her arms, night falls on the village. The AMU members were still scoping it out though. They had seen this strange blonde boy walk up to one of the most important people in Konoha's rooms and just get in there. This wasn't a regular citizen or just some random Uzumaki kid. This boy was someone of importance. Someone who was important enough to Mito that she would just allow him to walk into the room. This AMU member gets very interested, taking a keen interest on Naruto, sneaking up to the window where he and Mito was talking, and looks inside of it. That's when the AMU member notices something. It was Naruto. The AMU member immediately cracks the glass, jumping in, getting in between Mito and Naruto. She looks at Naruto intently. "Is it you?" A female voice echoes from the mask. Naruto kind of recognizes the voice, but something was off with it. "Is it you?" Mito says, "Calm down. Please, don't hurt him." The AMU member then draws their kunai. Their hands, however, shaking, like they had just seen a ghost. "Naruto, I said, is it you?" Naruto immediately recognizes the voice after that large and kind of mean outburst. It was his foster sibling, Mikubi, and she had become an AMU. "Yes, it's me. It's me." Naruto then turns around, running out of the house. He didn't know what to do. He was panicking, and all this made him look very suspicious. Mikubi then chases after him, and her AMU mask fully on. She gets the attention of other members of the village, and they all start chasing Naruto through the village. This is the worst case scenario. His cover is blown, and he will have to do something. He has to get out of the village right now. Being trapped, nowhere to go, he has only but one option: to time travel once again. If he time traveled, he would be able to get out of there, maybe to the village in the future. But that would leave so much questions in the air. He didn't even know why he time traveled to the future in the first place. What if he couldn't really do it again? What if he time travels back into the past and things are worse? It's all going into his mind, and he just does it without even consulting Minato, who is yelling in his mind for Naruto to calm down, but he couldn't. Naruto blindly and stupidly clenches his fist, doing all the hand signs for the jutsu while running, and screams, "I got to do this," as he travels through time once again. You see, Naruto was panicking. That's the only excuse I have for this foolish move by him. When he opens his eyes, he's in a different village. I mean, it's the same village, but not the one he knew. You see, the bustling streets that had just been about, they were no longer there. It was almost like the village itself was isolated, with only a few stores open. Naruto looks around in questioning. When was he?
Naruto Uzumaki, the child of prophecy. We have to set him back. How will he return? He won't. 20 years ago, Minato was a kid, a member of the Kamikaze clone, and their secret art of time release had passed down into Minato's genes. Even though he didn't know it, he had the strongest form of time release seen in generations. Minato would grow into one of the strongest shinobi of his era, gaining the epithet of the Yellow Flash of the Leaf, and earning the title of the 4th Hokage. Along his journey to the top of the ninja world, he found more about himself and discovered his reality warping abilities. He led his village through peaceful times, even though the air surrounding the world at this time was cold, and the allied and enemy nations alike were at the village and the land's throat. The Leaf, however, would still prosper during these strange times of unstable peace, until things started happening across the village, which all culminated in the Nine Tails attack on the Leaf.
Dad, stop freaking out, alright? Kid, you don't understand this. This shouldn't be possible. The timeline, Naruto. Is everything okay?
Naruto was in a deep zone while talking to his father. He didn't understand it, but somehow the rules were changing. Before, he couldn't even contact his father without being unconscious, but now he was talking to his father, fully interacting with him in the dream world without even being asleep. But he couldn't focus on that. The red-haired girl had just asked Naruto a question. He didn't hear anything she was saying, but as to not look foolish, he responds, stumbling, saying yes in a questioning manner. The girl looks at Naruto with questioning. Alright, she then says, suddenly changing her suspicious attitude to a perky one. Let's go, I'll take you to the gate.
He would be able to get out of there, maybe to the village in the future. But that would leave so much questions in the air. He didn't even know why he time traveled to the future in the first place. What if he couldn't really do it again? What if he time travels back into the past and things are worse? It's all going into his mind and he just does it without even consulting Minato, who is yelling in his mind for Naruto to calm down, but he couldn't. Naruto blindly and stupidly clenches his fist, doing all the hand signs for the jutsu while warning, and screams, "I got to do this," as he travels through time once again.
We skip 2 weeks into the future, and Naruto would be training with his father, Minato. They would train in the dream world after Naruto would return from the academy, and any special training or tutoring he would have during the day. And during the evenings, he would train with his father. Minato would have a lot of struggles and issues training Naruto. For one, he noticed right away that his son had taken after his mother, with the fact that he wasn't really all that focused. I mean, he had a lot of heart and gave everything 100%, but he wasn't keying in on his training enough. I mean, trying is good, but Naruto would have to focus solely on the task at hand if he wanted to unlock a time release. No, Naruto, that's not how time release works. Minato lets out a sigh as he explains the basics behind time release to Naruto again. You see, when you travel back in time, you're always traveling back in a straight line. Think about that line, alright? That's what you call a timeline, okay?
Okay.
Listen, the timeline is made of everything that happened in the past, or what is happening right now in the present. When you use time release to travel back, it's like you're sliding backwards in a wormhole, ending up exactly where you were in the present and the past.
What's a wormhole?
A worm... that doesn't matter. Pay attention. Now that you're in the past, anything you do can change the timeline and affect the present that you just came from, which now is the future. You see, a simple mistake or misstep can send ripples through the timeline affecting events in the future. Remember, the future and the past, for you, may be the present.
What?
These ripples are called the butterfly effect. You see, the timeline is very fragile, Naruto, so anything you do in the past can affect the future, or your present.
So what happens when you travel to the future and do something?
You can't.
Huh?
You can't travel to the future.
What?
Alright, think of it this way. You can travel to the past because it already happened, but you can't travel to the future because it doesn't exist.
Naruto, focus. You've got to get this down. I know, Dad. You've been saying that for over 5 years. Time stop. Time jump. Damn it, I can't do it. Naruto, listen, you have to focus. Let your chakra flow like time. Dad, maybe I just can't do it. But you did it before. But that was different, okay? I keep on telling you it was different. You have to hone in on that feeling, son. Use your anger and rage to tap into your potential. You can do it.
Naruto thinks back on that feeling he felt 5 years ago. You see, Naruto would travel through time for a second time after he arrived in the Leaf Village. He was in a completely different age than he was in before. His old home, the orphanage, was empty. Everyone had moved out, grown up, and the world that he had lived in for all his life was no more. Naruto would rush into Grandma Mito's room, sit with her and talk, and all of a sudden, a member of the Anbu Black Ops would burst through the window in Mito's room and attack Naruto. This Anbu member oddly would take off their mask and reveal their face to Naruto, and it turns out it was Naruto's old foster sibling, Mikubi. She died before Naruto's eyes, but using time release, Naruto was able to rewind time and save her life. Only she didn't know all that, so when she saw Naruto, she looked at him, and what she witnessed was a ghost. After Naruto time traveled, the entire orphanage was in shock, and he was automatically presumed dead. So imagine her shock when she saw Naruto after all of those years. She panics and attacked the boy, leading a chase for him across the entire Leaf Village, leading Naruto out of stress and fear to time travel once again. However, this time, when Naruto time traveled, he appeared in a village, one that was abandoned and empty. "Where are we?" he said to his father in questioning. "No, Naruto, when are we?" Minato immediately got to giving Naruto advice. He said, "It doesn't matter when we are. First things first, get out of the village. Then we find shelter. After that, we can find out when we are." Naruto, who up to this point was just using the voice of his father as words of advice, took them as orders and immediately left the abandoned hidden leaf. He headed towards the field of flowers that were painted red on the day that he time traveled in the first place. He knew that there was a shack of some sorts near that area. It wasn't much, but it was shelter, somewhere to lay his head. When he arrived, that area was barren. The flowers that blew lusciously and the smell of heaven itself, it wasn't there. What was there was scorched land and a few fields of rusted blades, as if a battle had been waged there recently. Naruto in shock said, "What?" Minato yelled at Naruto internally, "Naruto, get out of there now!" But it was too late. They were already surrounded by elite ninja of the mist. These ninjas jumped out of the surrounding shrubs and bushes. There were 10 in total, and they circled Naruto like a school of sharks. Kunai would fly at Naruto, and he would be stuck, having to react. Yo, what's good everybody, it's me, go back for the video. Today I'm bringing you guys the well long awaited What If Naruto Had Time release episode 2. When I, sat down to write the episode 2 of the script, honestly, it was a real task. I had to really push myself into creating something that was super unique. Because of course the time travel concept has been done before, but I haven't seen it done like this, where Naruto himself has the power to use time release to do whatever he wants with time. And the world and the way I set up the time release, I think, is really balanced and fair. Of course, I left room for things to grow, so there's a little bit of mystery in there, but I think we all understand how this works. There's no takes backsies and all that kind of stuff when it comes to time release. If you mess up one time, you mess up for good. So, yeah, this story is going to be really interwoven, so everything that Naruto does in the future, or everything that Naruto does in the past always affects the future. Naruto himself is changing the timeline by being there in the first place, so he and Minato will have to find a way to get out. I don't want to spoil too much in this little intro. Just know that I appreciate you guys for, continually giving support to the series, and I do hope you love this episode because I love it, and I'll see you in the future. Naruto, dodge! Naruto ducks, dodging some kunai. His dream training then kicks in as the Mist Shinobi rush him.
However, these were not just some run-of-the-mill bandits or bullies. These were highly skilled, ruthless shinobi trained to kill any obstacle in their path. Far too much for a 10-year-old boy to handle. Damn it! Dad, what do I do? I can't keep up with them. Naruto, I didn't want to have to do this. I was saving it for when you were ready to take us back, but I have to. All of a sudden, a figure draped in the shadows would creep out of the bushes and take down one of the mist ninja. The figure then slid behind another ninja. Then the figure burst out of the shrubs one by one, saving Naruto from his fate. Naruto looks up as the figure steps into visible light. All of a sudden, Minato yells out Naruto's mind. Orochimaru? Naruto, not knowing what to say, repeats his father. Orochimaru? He squeaks out weakly. Orochimaru! Naruto then hears a familiar voice call out for this odd man. He recognized it but couldn't pinpoint exactly who it was from. That's when Tsunade would walk out, standing tall, looking at Naruto in shock. Who are you? He slowly slithers out of his mouth. No way! It can't be! She immediately rushed for Naruto. However, just inches away from him, Orochimaru puts out his arm, preventing her from touching Naruto. Who are you? He slowly slithers out of his mouth. Tsunade, insulted by Orochimaru's questioning of Naruto, pushes past him, grabbing her foster sibling by the face and hugging him. Naruto, who has been going through extreme time whiplash and stress, breaks down crying in Tsunade's arms. Finally, he could rest. When he wakes up, Tsunade is sitting right next to him, holding his hand, clenching him tightly. Tsunade croaks weakly. How are you here? And what are you doing, Naruto? When he wakes up, Tsunade is sitting right next to him, holding his hand, clenching him tightly. Tsunade, he croaks out weakly. Naruto then goes on to explain everything to Tsunade, except leaving out the part about his father. He tells her a little bit about time relays and a bit about everything he's been through so far. Not all of it, but Tsunade is taken aback, taking Naruto's ramblings and gibberish as nonsense at first, but she knows there's no other explanation for this, or anything logical that can really make sense other than what Naruto was saying. She says to Naruto, I don't even know where to start, I'm just glad you're okay. I can't afford to lose anyone else. Naruto doesn't know this, but he had time traveled to an extremely strange time in ninja history, the Second Great Shinobi World War, when the League first established itself as a world superpower. A time where a lot of things happened. Naruto gets healed and looked after by Tsunade. Naruto's surprised to learn that Tsunade followed her goal of bringing each shinobi squad around to the idea of having a healer on a team. He's happy to see that Tsunade was following her dreams. She said that driving force to her was the fact that her baby brother, who was only 2 around the time that Naruto disappeared, had died on a mission. Naruto was shocked and saddened to hear this. Remember, he's only 10 years old at the time. The fact is, he wasn't ready for any of this. Not ready for the time release, the time jumps, or being dragged into the middle of one of the greatest wars in shinobi history. Minato knows this, so he whispered in Naruto's ear while Tsunade was talking. He says, Naruto, I think it's best if you ask Tsunade to teach you. What? But you're my sensei, Dad. Yes, but there's only so much I can teach you at the moment. You need to develop your basics first so we can improve and move on to more advanced techniques. Oh. Okay. Naruto rebuttals with hesitantly. Tsunade was talking and Naruto was paying no mind to her. He suddenly came out with, Tsunade, will you be my senpai? Tsunade was taken aback by this request. She became red with embarrassment as Naruto was holding something in his hand. It was a flower. One of the bright daisies that used to exist in the field of flowers before it got burned down. Orochimaru chuckled at Tsunade's reaction. She realizes what she's doing and pats Naruto on the head awkwardly. Tilting her face at him and smiling, she said, Nope. There's no way I can train you. you don't understand. The entire village.
No,
I get
you wanna
it.
use me, and then after you got what you need, we're done. Naruto, I'm your father. Uzumaki.
Naruto in the past. Naruto would train with Jiraiya, creating new relationships with Nagato and his friends. Minato saw all this through Naruto. He watched on at Naruto's short training, intrigued to see his sensei train Nagato, a wielder of the rinnegan. However, Jiraiya would have to move on due to the Leaf requesting him on important missions for the war efforts. And since Naruto was from the Leaf, Jiraiya would take him back to the Land of Fire after a month of training. He had learned better chakra control and some transformation jutsus via Jiraiya, and also had formed bonds with Nagato and his friends, bonds that would last throughout the ripples of time. We fast forward 5 years to the future. Naruto is training by himself in a remote area near the Namikaze clan village in the Land of Fire. Naruto is training over the past 5 years trying to unlock the time jump jutsu, which spawns the time portal, one of the most advanced jutsus to perform. He had used it 2 times before, but access to the jutsu intentionally is completely different than doing it accidentally. When Minato showed it to him the first time, he was young, naive, and without complex emotions. But as he got older, he began to doubt himself, and develop emotions that blocked him from accessing the time portal. Blocks him from warping reality. He and Minato, as a consequence of Naruto's block, decided to infiltrate the Namikaze clan village, and take a few of the scrolls so that Minato and Naruto can study them together, and learn other ways to unlock reality warping abilities of the time portal. Naruto and Minato would approach Namikaze's village carefully. Naruto would be draped in an all-black ninja outfit. Like an Ambu, he wore a mask to protect his face and stop people from seeing his bright blonde hair. Naruto would infiltrate the village. Due to his father's knowledge of the layout of the village, even though it was destroyed a long time ago, he still studied the village's layout and understands where Naruto needs to go in order to get to the Namikaze clan's treasure room and steal one of the scrolls of knowledge. Naruto would go through guards of the Namikaze clan, knowing that they had the ability of some of the greatest Namikaze jutsu, like the jump jutsu, which is a part of the time jump jutsu. It just allows the wielder of this jutsu to jump from one area to the next with ease, similar to the flying Raijin jutsu, except for it used a lot of chakra. Naruto would sneak, taking out guard by guard, using his abilities and his newfound training due to his father and Jiraiya's knowledge. He would be able to easily infiltrate the Namikaze clan village. However, unbeknownst to him, the Namikaze clan knowledge room was always being surveyed by one of the most advanced observation jutsu in the world of Naruto, the Namikaze clan's ever-seeing eye via the portal jutsu. Naruto is shocked to learn this news from Minato. It seems like every single jutsu that is a part of the Namikaze clan's arsenal is an offshoot of the portal jutsu. This jutsu is one of the most versatile jutsus, and Naruto is not even able to access it. It kinda depresses him and encourages him to get that scroll at the same time. Even though he knows he's being watched, Minato advises Naruto to infiltrate the knowledge room, grab the scrolls as quickly as possible, and run out of there at full speed. So that's what Naruto does. He sneaks behind the guards, taking out one, and infiltrates the knowledge room, grabs the scrolls of knowledge, and runs out. As soon as he does, the entire Namikaze clan village is alerted.
and they would lead a chase through Naruto throughout the entire village. He would jump through stalls and shops, going from house to house, window to window, building to building, trying to get out of this really small but dense village. Naruto would be chased by all the guards alerted, and he would have to be forced to fight one of the guards, to fight a group of the guards of the Namikaze clan. Naruto would bare his fist and begin to fight. He had learned a myriad of the advanced techniques that Naruto had learned were super useful in combat, such as the Rasengan, one of the most advanced jutsus and one of the greatest jutsus for him to use in the canon. The next jutsu that Naruto would use in this battle was Jiraiya's toad summoning jutsu. Another jutsu that Naruto would use proficiently was the flying Raijin technique. He would jump from building to building, place to place, confusing the Namikaze clan. They thought he was using the portal jump jutsu, but it seemed that he was moving way too quickly and he wasn't losing any chakra. They were confused and intrigued. They watched Naruto as his mask fell off and revealed his bright blonde hair. They assumed that Naruto was a part of the Namikaze clan and he had went rogue and he was trying to steal scrolls from the Namikaze clan in order to get them back to whatever village that he was partnering with. Naruto, scared, finally left the village. He was really shaved and beaten up badly, but he escaped. He limped over to the camp where he and his father were staying and got there, throwing the scrolls on the floor, exhaling with passion. He had finally done it. He celebrates with his father in his mind, saying, "Yes, we did it, Dad." And that's when Naruto would be stabbed from behind by the supervisor of the Room of Knowledge, the one who would cast all-seeing eye jutsu. Naruto was stabbed right in his abdomen. He wouldn't be able to survive this. Even if the blade was removed, he would most certainly bleed out.